So Carlos Sainz this weekend.
Mm.
Call an ambulance. Call an ambulance. But not for me. Because this man just dominated.
Absolutely.
Considering
Who
he's
needs an
got half
appendix,
his...
huh?
Exactly. Apparently none of these F1 drivers need one. That's
Well,
how you beat Max Verstappen. You start chopping parts of your own body off.
the dedication.
Sacrifice it to the gods.
The dedication is unreal. Welcome to this episode of the 107 podcast with myself, Jacob, and my co-host Ash. Today we're talking about the Upside Down Grand Prix. It was pretty good. It did. Everything got flipped upside down, didn't it? Max Verstappen, usually at the top, sunk all the way to the bottom.
I mean, if you turn over the results, it'll be Verstappen first.
Yeah, but then Carlos finishes last. I don't want that. Then again, if you flipped it upside down, you would have a Max Lewis Russell podium. So I mean,
you would.
Yeah.
You'd have Esteban Ocon fourth.
Or obviously, if you did it through finishes, you'd have a Bottas Joe Ocon podium, which is outrageous. Let's be honest. But yes, so I'll be honest with. I will be the first to say, although there was an incident with Max, I don't think the race was particularly interesting. I just think it was only mostly interesting because purely Max didn't win for the first time in months.
I think, the start, up until the first pit stops, it was kind of interesting because you had the Ferrari McLaren, like Norris, Piastri and Leclerc, and right, what's going to happen with strategy.
Yeah.
But literally, Carlos just did a Max and just controlled the whole
completely
race.
Disappeared. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. Was hoping maybe the tires would cause some changes in strategy, but not really. So
no,
yeah, it was okay. It was okay.
Yeah,
considering we'd seen closer battles once Max has gone from second downwards, but yeah. Should we start off with Ferrari?
I think we should start with Ferrari. Perfect weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved hearing the Italian national anthem.
It's such a vibe, is it not? It's so catchy.
It's so good.
It makes me want to be Italian.
Oh yeah, like it properly like compared to oh God save the kid. It's just like so boring and pedestrian.
Yeah. It's like it gets you amped up.
Right? Oh mate, it's so much better than ours. Ours is rubbish in comparison, honestly. But yeah, no, I don't think we heard it in Singapore as well. I don't remember hearing it in Singapore.
Really? Because they must have played it.
Yeah, but I guess that they had like the microphones down near the mechanics and stuff like that for Australia compared to Singapore. I guess that maybe didn't.
Oh, you mean people singing it?
Yeah, because they were singing along as well. Like it just the vibes were immaculate. Let's be honest. But I mean, perfect weekend.
The vibes when the crowd, you could hear the crowd cheering when Carlos got past him and when Max's car was on fire, and it's like just that Aussie crowd. They let him know how they.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, I don't think it's a hate towards Verstappen. I think it's just, oh my God, something interesting is that something else is going to win.
Hate towards dominance. That's it.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, they just want to see something interesting happen. Yeah. But yeah,
if Oscar and Daniel move up a place, they're happy for that.
Yeah, apparently the crowd noise was pretty loud whenever Oscar and Daniel came past as well, and also Valtteri, obviously, as like an honorary Australian. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. We didn't talk about it in the preview episode, and this is completely away from Ferrari, but his advert that he did for Uber, gold, absolute gold. I loved it, phenomenal. So yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. You can't.
Isn't it amazing when the drivers aren't PR machines?
Yeah, they just don't take themselves seriously. Yeah, it's really nice.
It just feels more authentic.
Yeah, absolutely. But going back to Ferrari as well, it was great to see them. Obviously, P1, P2. I think it was almost like Charles was like really disappointed. I got that vibe from him post race.
I think being behind Lando stopped him from chasing up to Carlos.
I guess
and then once they'd secured the 1-2, they're like, we're not risking it. Don't fight. We saw what happened in Monza.
True. But I guess also it's one of those things where like I don't think he would have caught him because he was just. It was like Carlos was on rails.
Yeah, it's like ever since he
Um,
lost his job.
Honestly, ever since he's
Yeah,
lost his job,
he,
it's
he's
been
kind of
ridiculous.
showing Ferrari why they've made a mistake and pretty much telling every team out there, it's like, I'm the driver for you.
Yeah, I mean, so far, like I've said it a couple of times, like I would have kept Carlos over Charles, and so far he's proving me right. So everything, vamos! Like, come on, Carlos, please prove me right. I love being proved right. But yeah, I
Still
also
got a
like
lot of
how I
races
did
left.
this. I did this as I was saying it as well. For those of you who don't know, I did the international sign language for Italian. But yeah, no. So I think they had pretty much a perfect day. Charles got fastest lap as well, which is
Yeah.
great. And to like round it all off, Carlos's radio message at the end, because there was obviously a safety car. We'll get to that in a minute because that's a whole nother thing. But Carlos's radio message to be like, tell Charles to come alongside. We'll celebrate this together. Perfection, absolute perfection.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciated that from him. Like, just
Got a bit of
amazing.
a smooth operator in there.
Absolutely, yeah. Like
Also, I did
it's
quite
always
well
fun
on the
hearing.
bingo because of this
I
race.
think you did, yeah. I think
I
you had
did.
Carlando
I,
podium, right?
I had car on fire,
Yeah, yeah.
which
This is
was
definitely a fire. Did you see the
car.
photo of his wheel?
Yes.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I think I saw. No. I only saw the explosion as Max was coming in,
Mm.
the melted wheel hub, but I haven't seen the photo.
I think there's a photo of his tire in the back of like the pit, and it's just smoking.
Oh
It looks
gosh,
like a
yeah.
barbecue. It like honestly, it's quite funny.
I
Uh,
got the singing radio message because we've got some smooth
yeah, we got
operator.
a singing radio message as well. Yeah.
Got the Carlando podium.
Carlando podium. Here for it,
Car,
lads. Here for it.
yeah, right.
I think
So
the only thing is for me as a Ferrari fan, as we slowly go into the second team for this weekend, which obviously is McLaren, is that I do wish that McLaren were just a little bit closer to Ferrari, so they sort of like pushed each other. You know? Do you know what I
I
mean?
mean,
Like it would
they were
make it
close
interesting.
enough.
The undercut for Charles for the second stint really helped.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully, maybe Japan or even China will throw up a bit more of surprise as well. So,
Well, if they
yeah,
bring
we'll
some more
have to wait and
updates,
see.
like
Yeah. What
there's some
apparently,
pace in that
obviously,
car.
McLaren are planning some big updates for Imola. So you never know. Maybe that will bring them closer. But it's not. Again, this isn't because I'm completely biased and I love McLaren, even though I have their logo literally tattooed on me. But this is purely from a competitive nature. I just want to see the two tied a bit or tussling a little bit more. So
Yeah.
that's part of the reason why I just want to see some interesting stuff. But what a race for McLaren! Like great points haul. You brought home 27 points, and your best position for a Australian driver in years. I think. Obviously Daniel was on the podium a few years ago, but then he got disqualified. I can't remember the last time an Australian finished fourth in his home race.
No, I can't either. So good on Oscar. He's building on a strong first season. It looks like that season under his belt's really helped him mature as a driver. And
Yeah,
yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching him for the rest of the season. And him and Lando are going to have some good battles.
oh, absolutely. I really hope that they do. And I hope that maybe not all the time because my heart will just be like beating out of my chest. But I hope that it's not a case of like, Imola last year where you had the Ferraris battling. I hope it's not like that all the time. But I do hope that, we don't see what happened today, which I know a couple of people were disappointed with the team orders of essentially asking Oscar to let Lando by, but it was the right decision and
I
they
think
were
it
on
was,
different
yeah.
strategies and yeah, it's just it's just one of those things. But yeah, they had a very good weekend. No other incidents to talk about for them, but yeah, I think just solid, and it gives them a good platform to build on for Japan in 2 weeks.
Yeah, fair play, fair play. Next up was Red Bull.
Red Bull,
Let's start with Sergio
yeah.
because we're going to talk a lot about Max.
Um, I have a
Heard he
couple of
had floor
points.
damage.
Yeah, heard he had floor damage. But obviously I did expect him to do a little bit better considering obviously he is in the fastest car on the grid.
Yeah,
But and this is where I'm like, on weekends where Max doesn't deliver, on those very rare 2 out of the last 30 race weekends where he doesn't deliver, I would want to see Sergio a little bit higher up the
He should
grid.
have been on the podium.
Yeah, that's my thing. Because if you look at the constructors' standings at the moment, it is looking a little bit squeaky bum time.
It's way too early.
I know it's early, but yeah, you would want to be a bit further ahead if you're Red
I just
Bull.
find it strange that he managed to get past Alonso and then all of his pace went. I don't know if that's when he damaged the floor
No
or
idea.
something like that, but yeah, I was expecting more. Obviously, we don't know how much floor damage there was that affected his pace,
Yeah.
but yeah.
The next team or the next driver / position is actually Stroll, who had a decent enough race. To be fair, he brought home solid points. He brought home 8 points. Do we want to talk about Aston Martin as a whole and get into the situation?
No, we'll save it to the end.
We'll save that to the end. Okay, cool.
Because that's going to cause a lot of
Yeah.
issue and controversy.
Fernando Alonso finished 6th and or 8th, depending on what you want to believe. Yeah, we'll get to that later. Next up, Yuki smashed it.
Yeah, he's proving
Smashed
that
it.
he's a solid driver.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think Yuki's performance is showing Daniel Ricciardo up big time.
Yeah.
And if I'm Daniel, I might be worried about my future.
Yeah, I think over race weekends, I think Yuki is now I think it's something like 6-3 in races head to head in terms of Yuki has outperformed Daniel 6 times compared to Daniel outperforming him 3 times. So it's something like that. And so if I'm Daniel Ricciardo, I would be starting to worry because I think that not that you'll be kicked out of the seat halfway through the season or anything that dramatic because he's worth a lot to them commercially as well. But I do think you do have to look at it I think his time may be coming to an end. I don't see any other route out for him now.
Well,
yeah, I don't know.
I think that it's sorry, I kind of lost track, but yeah, he's showing him up. It's not one team. It was the same at McLaren.
Yeah.
And as much as his relationship with Red Bull is, and commercially he's good, he's not going to get that Red Bull seat based on
so far. No, I don't think he deserves it.
The way it's going it's only 3 races. I would keep Sergio.
At this point,
between Sergio and Daniel, I would keep Sergio.
Christian Horner made some interesting comments this weekend, though. Don't know if you saw them.
Nah.
he let's say he didn't say he wouldn't be interested in Carlos Sainz.
Oh, there you go.
So we could see those two reunited. Obviously, they were teammates at Toro Rosso.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting lineup for next year, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So if I'm Daniel, mate, head down, bring those performances back up.
Please, yeah. And again, I want to see those performances. I do.
Well, if Ferrari can get rid of someone like Carlos, the way he drove last season, and the way he's driving this season, no one's safe.
Well, yeah, pretty much. So yeah, but obviously, again, the win definitely does help Carlos in deciding what seats he wants to be in next year for sure. Yeah. Because I imagine there's probably a table on the offer, an offer on the table from Sauber as well, more than likely. But yeah. So next up was the Haas boys.
Haas boys, 9 and 10.
Yeah, mate. Double points for Haas in Australia. Unbelievable. Yeah. I did not expect that whatsoever.
I didn't either. So
no, they've come out of nowhere. I think they were obviously helped quite a lot by the 2 DNFs, which were faster cars than them. However, I'll be honest with you, game's the game.
You got to maximize any opportunity you get.
Any opportunity you get, you take it.
People ahead of you not finishing the race. You want to get points, got to finish the race first.
Exactly. And I think that also, it's almost like a reward for his amazing defenses the last week.
It's like a reward.
It's like a reward for K-Mag getting that point today in Australia. I know he'll be very happy with that. As will Nico, but this is 2 points as well.
I mean, it helps in that backmarker battle.
Mate, so I'm going to look at the constructors right now. And if you look at the Constructors' Championship, Haas have 4 points and they are 7th. They have Williams, Sauber and Alpine below them. And do you not remember at the start of the season we said Haas would be rock bottom?
Yeah, we
So
did.
so far they're absolutely smashing it, and they're only
Also,
2 points behind RB.
we completely wrote off Carlos in this race, so I'm not making predictions anymore.
No, we did. Well, yeah, I did think that surgery would hamper him a little bit more. But I mean, that's kind of understandable. I even remember saying, like, at the beginning, like, oh, like, as much as we would have liked to have seen Oliver Behrman in the car, not anymore after this weekend's performance. No way. So I can't believe I said that. But yeah, no, I just think it's important to note that, like, we had essentially written them off. But so far, they're 7th in the constructors. So hats off to them, honestly. I do like, however, if you look at the F1 website right now and you look at Williams, only Alexander Albon is on their drivers page. They don't have a driver page for Logan Sargent. If you look at
that's just mean.
if you look at the constructor page, I'm going to take a screenshot of that, by the way, because that's quite funny.
That's mean.
Yeah, that's not good. I'm not being mean. I'm just pointing it out.
Yeah, that's just weird. No, I'm just saying that's just mean in general.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Like, why is he not there?
I don't know, no idea. But yeah, so that's the thing. But yeah, and obviously, obviously, now we talked about the Haas boys. Who was next? It was Albon himself.
Yeah, Albon in the Williams.
Yes, so
did well, but
he did okay, but with no luck. I'm very glad he didn't crash it, although it would have arguably been very funny if he had. Yeah, even though we've just been talking to somebody who would have had to have dealt with a lot of damage if he had been in a crash. So I'm going to tease that a little bit. We've got somebody from Alpine joining us on the podcast in the next episode, so I'll chat a little bit more about that towards the end and tease it a little bit too. But yeah, no, I'm glad that Albon didn't bin the car. But I think that if Albon didn't score points, and obviously it was a gamble. But hopefully
he came close, but he didn't score.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how Logan responds to this.
Exactly. Hopefully Logan has a bit of a response. I think that Japan as well. He crashed there the last time they were there as well, so it's going to be interesting to see how he performs, and hopefully he can pull it out of the bag and maybe even get some points on the board.
Yeah, we shall see. It was the right decision as well by Williams.
Yeah, we've said it before as well. It was the right decision. It just was. Yeah, I mean, like, if there had been one more DNF, there would have been a point.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Then we've had Daniel.
Already spoken about him.
Gasly, I would give it. You know what? I'm going to give it to Gasly. He had a pretty solid race.
He did enough, didn't he? Yeah.
He tried to do what he could with the pace in that car, and I know it's only 13th, but he's like again, you teased it, but they are doing it. It's on them, right? It's on Alpine to improve, and they're going out there and they're not moaning, they're not complaining. It's like that. Let's just try and maximize what we can. So
yeah,
it's good to see them fighting.
You heard them celebrating that they got out of Q1 during quali this weekend. So I mean, that's absolutely great that they're celebrating those small victories. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then obviously Ocon finished 16th, which was like the last position. However, he did have a driver tear off stuck in his brake duct.
They talked about this on the broadcast. There must be a better way to do something about the driver tear offs, because it's happened a couple of times. And it shouldn't. It shouldn't. So in a sport as engineered and as cutting edge as Formula One, I think that's one of the things they should look at and say,
what would you suggest?
Something that, maybe, so it sticks obviously on. As soon as you unwrap it, that thing is exposed to air and maybe like it disintegrates or something like that, or just something that just breaks apart into smaller pieces or something.
Seb used to just stick his to the side of the tub in the car.
Maybe, but I think
that works.
Maybe, but I'm just trying to think, like, as you drive, like, just doing that, just.
Well, you again, I'm not doing this at 200 kilometers an hour, but you stick, drive. Like, it's duh. So it's like, you could easily do that on a straight.
We'll see. Well,
Or
I mean,
you
if
get
it was
like
that
Windex
easy,
on them, so you get Windex on them, so the water
nah.
disappears.
I
I don't
mean, if
know.
it was that easy, I know you're saying Seb did it, but if it was that easy, surely they would just tell all the drivers to do it. So,
Maybe they should. I don't know.
maybe they should. Maybe they should.
Maybe they just should. We'll have to wait and see. But obviously, it was a little bit of a shame. And then the last team that we get to talk about is Sauber,
Yeah.
who did not have very good pit stops.
No, they didn't. No,
No.
their second Valtteri one was a lot better.
Well, yeah. But did you
But
not see
come
they
on.
lost the center ring for the wheel twice?
Yes. Yeah.
It's not looking good, is
Whatever
it?
whatever wheel nut they have,
Hmm.
like, come on. Come on. Do better. But yeah, again, just forgettable from them. But
Yes, yeah, not the
we'll see.
best, not the best race weekend for them.
Yeah. And not the best race weekend for Lewis Hamilton, who I think probably just welcomed the engine braking side. Just get me out of here.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have confidence in the car pre-race, and I doubt he has very much confidence in the engine after this race
Yeah.
either. Not great at all
And his move to
from him.
Ferrari just looks better at every race.
Yeah, I mean, like it's the year before new regulations, and you've got Fred, who's essentially ripped up the team and brought it even closer to the front of the grid. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's looking pretty good right about now,
It is.
for sure. Do we want to leave it for a second? Is there any other topics other than the topic that we want to chat about?
Got two topics.
Yes.
Uh,
Well, we
no,
didn't really talk about the Max incident, did we?
that's what I thought we'd save that to the end.
Wait,
So yeah, let's talk Max. Let's talk Max.
Max. So obviously he had some sort of brake duct problem with his rear right.
Well, they say the brake was sticking.
Yeah, the brake was sticking. I think genuinely, I think I know what the problem was with this car just from watching the race. The problem is that when the engineers are building a car in Australia, they had to do it upside down. So
Oh my God.
I feel as though if they'd have remembered to do it upside down, it wouldn't have been a problem. So I think it's just a Red Bull thing. Hopefully they'll fix it for next time.
Yeah. No, it's a shame. It's a shame. But it was pretty epic, man. You see him when he was driving
Yeah.
to the pit lane. There's that massive explosion of black smoke,
Yeah.
and then just that fire and the melted wheel rim was just like, whoa. But he described it as like driving with the handbrake on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was amazing to see Carlos get past him, and I was like, okay, a race is on, a race is on.
And then smoke.
And then you saw the smoke, and you're like, oh shit, engine issue. And then the right hand side, it was a brake, and I was like, what? No way is this happening to Verstappen. Because I remember you kept saying, it's like, I think they're gonna win every race. I think they're gonna win every race.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, this seems like a bit of a technical mistake, but like also the last time that there was a technical DNF from Verstappen was 2022 in Australia.
Yeah.
So he's had a finishing run for 2 years like straight. So
Yeah.
I mean, like he smashed it really. To go 2 years without a DNF is amazing. For any
I'm a little bit worried because not like Australia, but remember he got beat by Sergio and he was like, this is never happening again, and then just destroyed
Yeah.
Sergio.
Yeah.
Right? It's like everyone's like, I'm sure it does obviously affect him, part-time F1 driver, full-time sim racer, but I reckon he's just like, oh, okay, all right. Watch the rest of the season now. Watch the rest of the season. You thought last year was dominating?
You
Watch
wait.
this season.
Yeah.
Just you wait now.
Yeah, we're gonna get a Sebastian Vettel at the end of the Monaco Grand Prix. It's just like you abort fastest lap, which is like, but satisfaction. Yeah,
So I'm gonna top every practice session. I'm gonna top every qualifying session, and yeah, fastest lap.
I mean, both laps he did in quali would have put him on pole.
Yeah.
Like during
I don't
Q3, like insane, honestly. But yeah, I mean, like I said, hopefully it won't be. Not that I don't want him to win, but hopefully he doesn't win every race between now and the end of the season. But we will definitely have to wait and see. Because he does quite like Japan, doesn't he? He does do pretty well at Japan historically.
He's
So
good.
yeah,
I'm just hoping for rain, just to spice.
yeah,
things up
rain
a
would
little
make
bit.
things good. Same at China as well. To be fair, China with some rain would be pretty interesting too. So, But I think that was one of the things I wanted to talk about towards the end. And the other one being the Alonso incident, which has divided fans,
Yeah,
divided Formula One
it's
fans.
really strange. I don't think the fans have read the stewards report, but just before we talk about Alonso and Russell, I just want to talk about did you hear Russell's radio when he was kind of flipped over?
I
That
did,
was so
yeah.
scary. He was like,
Scary,
red
yeah.
flag, red
Because you
flag,
can't
red
see
flag.
anything.
Yeah, because like just coming around there, it could just been someone going full, someone trying to make an overtake, and there's a car in the middle. Oh man.
Well, it's also
So
because the underside of his car was exposed, and you know how close you sit to the ground in those cars. So it's not like a
yeah,
side
well, you
impact
never
where
know
you've got,
what could have happened.
if you have a side impact, there's some stuff in between you, right? But if
Yeah,
you're up with the bottom showing and you're almost essentially sat on the ground anyway, that could be lethal. So I
yeah,
completely understand why he was freaking
yeah.
out, essentially. There's
The
no other way to put it. He
the
was
panic.
freaking out, and he's perfectly with his rights to.
Yeah, the panic in his voice, it was
You could
scary.
tell.
So,
Yeah, he was shitting himself, and I do not blame him whatsoever, and I don't discount that for a second, that was really dangerous for him to be
no,
in.
yeah, absolutely. Just when you saw it, it's just the car just flipped. And
Yeah.
I was like,
It
whoa,
was very
shit, man.
dramatic. The whole crash was
Yeah.
very dramatic.
Just, yeah, whenever you see a car that's not on line like normally, even if all the wheels are gone, if it's like on its side or upside down, like what was it, Zhu and Silverstone?
Oh,
It
God.
just adds that extra bit of fear to it. You're like, whoa.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Because the
So,
cars shouldn't be upside down or on their
no,
sides.
exactly.
But yeah,
Considering like they're designed to stick to the ground, so it's gonna
literally
be a
sucked
serious
to the
crash.
ground, yeah.
Serious crash.
So
If
do you want to explain the incident?
Yes. So George Russell was chasing after Fernando Alonso in the last few laps, trying to get that position. Now, when it was it the last lap or the lap before? Was it 57 or 58? I think it was 58. I think it was the last lap. What happened is, and we'll go into this in more detail, is Fernando took the entry to that turn slightly different than he had on the previous few laps, which caught George Russell out, which meant he had to take avoiding action, was caught in the dirty air, and caused that crash. Now, the division on this was that Fernando, actually, there's two aspects to it.
Yeah.
The penalty that Fernando was given, and should Fernando have been given a penalty. So if we talk about the first one, which was should Fernando have been given a penalty, there's a division on some people saying, well, he's allowed to take a different line. He's allowed to try different things on there to defend against George. And he was saying, look, I was trying to maximize exit speed. I had issues with the throttle. That's why I did what I did. And some people are saying he should be allowed to do that. And some people are saying he shouldn't be allowed to do that because the driver behind, you're expecting them to brake at a certain point. Maybe they might do something slightly different, take a line. But what Fernando did was touch the brake slightly, lifted off the throttle, then gone back on the throttle, then braked, and that caught George out on where the car in front of him would have been stopping and caused the crash. So I've given the explanation. What are your thoughts? Because I know we differ on the thoughts here.
Yeah, we're like an old married couple. We're just gonna have to agree to disagree on this.
I don't agree with the penalty. We'll talk about that as a separate incident. But I do agree that Fernando, and I'm a Fernando fan.
Yeah.
Right? Fernando should have been penalised for that.
So, for me,
have you read the stewards report? Because I'll bring it up, and it does actually explain it very well.
So I haven't read the stewards report. However, I did see a couple of videos of people explaining exactly why he got the penalty and stuff like that. And so I do mostly understand. However, do you know what else I also understand? Racing. And for me, he has tried his best to play a game. Essentially, he's trying to maximize his potential to go through that corner with the best exit possible to defend as well as possible against Russell, who probably would have taken him at the DRS. Probably. Okay, we'll give it like a 60% chance type thing. If not, maybe a dive bomb for the last few corners. But in my opinion, if you're a driver behind another driver and you see them braking at an odd period of time or not going quite as quickly as you might expect or whatever, you have to try and capitalize on that and adapt to the situation. Because, for example, what if it had been a catastrophic engine failure and he'd literally just stopped there dead on track, or a wheel had ripped off, or something like that.
But that's
as far
two different things.
No, just bear with me. So as far as I'm aware, you should be not expecting, but anticipating him trying something different, or any driver, or anything happening at any given point, for me. And so I also think that Fernando is right in the statement that he posted on Twitter, is that if there was a bigger runoff, if there was no crash involved, wouldn't even have got a second look at. I genuinely don't think it would have. If it was like, for example, like even where we were 3 weeks ago in Bahrain, if it was, a corner with a big runoff, I don't think it would have got a second look at whatsoever. However, purely because of the dramatic effect, or the dramatic way in which George crashed, it got licked into a little bit more because there was an actual crash into it. If there was a runoff, or he'd, have come straight back onto the track or whatever, I don't think it would have even got looked at in a second way whatsoever, genuinely. I also would like to put a little bit of blame on the race organisers, because that wall where George actually hit, I don't have a problem with the gravel whatsoever, but the wall that George actually hit was talked about in the driver's briefing, and they had complained that it was too close, like that it shouldn't be there should be more of a runoff, because you've already made that corner wider with more tarmac so that you can take that corner with a lot more speed, So I would also put a little bit of blame on the event organisers, because it's not particularly safe, that corner, either. So I don't think that helped the thing. And I'm mentioning all these things because that accumulated into the situation that we have now. That's why I'm mentioning all of those things.
Dude, you're so wrong. It's
How am I wrong? How?
Because,
please explain.
First of all, your first point on if there is a tire failure, if there's an engine failure, if every driver anticipated that, we'd never have close racing. We just wouldn't have it.
Well, yes, you would, because you capitalise on it.
No, you won't, because you're saying, what if his tire failed? So you'd have to avoid it anyway. He's doing something different.
Well, no, I just meant go slow. Like, what if it was a Lewis end of Silverstone type thing, finishing on 3 wheels? All of a sudden, his wheel pops and he just carries on.
You can't plan for that. You've just got to race.
I know you can't plan for that. That's exactly my point. You've just got to race with the conditions that you're given.
Yeah, but that's completely different to what Fernando did, which was he planned. He made a conscious choice to do that, which is why the penalty is deserved, and literally
to me it's just racing. It's him trying to be clever,
and the whole gravel rut. It does. I think even if there's a ton of runoff, I think they would have still looked at it. I think George would have complained and said, "Have a look at the telemetry."
Well, George does complain a lot. I will say that.
He does.
So does so does Alonso. But yeah,
you've got to play the game, haven't you? So, and I think even if obviously the gravel made it more of an incident, but I still think they would have looked at it and said, "Hold on, you did this in the previous lap, and you haven't done it on this lap. That was the cause for potentially George." Or George going off or whatever, even if there was gravel or not gravel. Yeah. However, do you want to? The stewards report is actually very fair. Would you want me to read it to you? I'll read it. Right. Telemetry shows that Alonso lifted slightly more than 100 meters earlier than he ever had going into that corner during the race. He also braked very slightly at that point that he did not usually brake. Although the amount of braking was so slight, it was not the main reason for his car slowing. And he downshifted at a point he never usually downshifts. He then upshifted again and accelerated to the corner before lifting again to make the corner. Alonso explained that while his plan was to slow earlier, he got it slightly wrong. So Alonso admits he made the mistake and had to take extra steps to get back up to speed. Nonetheless, this maneuver created a considerable and unusual closing speed between the cars. So this is where, how things are done by the letter of the law. And sometimes are like, I understand why the FIA, we have to make the decision because it's a law, although we don't agree with it.
Yeah.
This is the letter of the law that they've taken in. In considering the matter, the stewards focus solely on the wording of the regulation, which states, at no time may a car be driven unnecessarily slowly, erratically, or in let me just load up page 2. There's 2 pages of this, or in a manner which could be deemed potentially dangerous to other drivers or any other person. Specifically, in this case, the stewards have not considered the consequences of the crash, so the barrier, the gravel, the whole, George being on this side.
Yes.
Further, stewards considered that they do not have sufficient information to determine whether Alonso's maneuver was intended to cause Russell problems or whether, as he stated to the stewards, that he was simply trying to get a better exit. Should Alonso have the right to try a different approach to the corner? Yes, which is what you said. And that's right. They should be able to try different ways to defend. Should Alonso be responsible for dirty air that ultimately caused the incident? No, he shouldn't. Like I said, that's a matter of fact of the cars. However, did he choose to do something with whatever intent that was extraordinary, i.e. lifting, braking, downshifting, all the elements of the maneuver 100 meters earlier than previously and much greater than was needed to simply slow earlier for the corner? Yes, by his own account of the incident, he did. And in the opinion of the stewards, by doing these things, he drove in a manner that was at the very least potentially dangerous given the high-speed nature of that point of the track. This season, the FIA Formula One penalty guidelines, including for this breach, have been reset, and
they have. Yeah, so the penalties are harsher.
The penalties are harsher. So they gave him the 20-second, which is equivalent to a drive-through, and 3 penalty points.
Yeah.
Now, this leads on to the second part, which is Formula 3.
Yes.
Which I totally agree with you.
This is the thing I have a bigger problem with.
I'm going to now leave you to do the explanation.
This is the problem I have. This is what I have a much bigger problem with. So we also put a reel up on the Instagram as well. So if you're not following us on Instagram, please go and check us out. We're almost at 2,000 followers now, so which is pretty cool. So we put up a reel of the Tsolov incident where he essentially rammed somebody off the track, or tried to, which I would argue...
No, he did. He did.
At those speeds, in a car, you could potentially argue it's an aggravated event. He didn't do it because they were like defending for position or whatever. This was during qualifying, from what I remember.
I think it was practice session.
Or maybe even a practice session, but it was not a race either.
Yeah.
To me, that you could argue that is like an offense with a deadly weapon. Like it's all, you could have killed the bloke. Like it's almost attempted murder if you really want to like be really harsh with it. It's obviously not, but it's bad. And the fact that he only got a 3 grid place penalty for the race that weekend is outrageous. We said it in the previous podcast. If he's an Alpine driver, if I'm looking after the Alpine driver development, he's gone. I am not renewing his contract next year. I'm not accepting that whatsoever on a track. Never. It's too dangerous, and it is not going to be taken on my Alpine Drivers Academy. And for that to have been a 3-place grid penalty compared to this Alonso incident where it was a 20-second time penalty, meaning that he was
3 penalty points.
And 3 penalty points, which mean that he got demoted from P6 to P8. So although obviously, Aston Martin, I think they lose out on 2 points, I want to say, for constructors, and obviously Fernando loses out on drivers as well. When you compare the two, they don't add up. That's the problem I have with it. The FIA are just so outrageously inconsistent. It boils my blood, and I'm sick and tired of it. In my opinion, Tsolov should have gotten a race and/or weekend ban.
He should have got banned for the race, yeah.
Like, that is completely unacceptable. Completely. But you agree. You may not feel as passionately, but for me, it really is just classic FIA, just not being consistent whatsoever. I am not a big fan of it at all. I think that also as a side note, I think it's very interesting that the two, not controversial, but the 2 penalties dished out with Johnny Herbert as an impartial FIA representative were against 2 people and or organisations that he doesn't particularly get on very well with. That's very interesting to see. Sergio Perez had a 3-place grid penalty, and Alonso had a 20-second time penalty. So, he made some statements about Red Bull pre-weekend, didn't he? So
didn't Perez actually hold up? Was it
he held up Hulkenberg, but it's just very interesting that the only 2 are those
do not
two.
attribute
I'm
to malice
just
what can be attributed to incompetence.
I'm just raising the question. It
There's no
doesn't.
the
I
explanation is
highly
given.
doubt it, to be fair.
Yeah.
And obviously he's not the only one in the stewardships room, but I think that it does reek a little bit of not the best idea to put him as a race steward. Personally, I wouldn't have done that. Yeah.
There's another bit of drama around that.
Mm.
So the drama is, would you have red flagged or would you have done virtual safety car?
He was upside down.
What they're saying is like, oh, people were still going round. So obviously just slow everyone down with a virtual safety car. But with a virtual safety car, you still drive to a delta.
Yeah.
Whereas like red
and it
flag
can
would
be
like,
quick. Yeah.
completely just we're ending the race now kind of thing.
I think that a red flag would have been better, like I said, purely because of the precarious situation that George was in.
Yeah.
Or I feel as though they should have maybe like a super safety car or a super virtual safety where it's like you have to drop to like as slow as you can possibly go. There is something bad, like you have to slow down, but that should only be used for like, the last few laps of the race. Like if it's within 3 laps of 3 to 5 laps of the end of the Grand Prix, that can be used just to finish things out. Like if the race director feels it's necessary. Just to finish up the race, get everything cleaned up so that we don't have to, wait 45 minutes to an hour for everything to be cleaned up for us to go racing again for 2 laps. It might be something useful to the FIA. But so, what's your opinion on? First, let's get your opinion on the Solov situation, attempted murder.
No, I agree with you.
Let's get your opinion on that.
Should have been a way harsher punishment.
Yep.
Way harsher.
What punishment would you have given him?
I would have banned him for the race.
Yeah, just that one race or the whole weekend, because there are 2 races in F3.
Oh yeah, I would have banned him from the whole weekend. You can't do that. I don't care if it's at 5 miles per hour or 50 or 150. You can't just ram your car into someone.
No.
Take out your aggression like that. You can't.
And red flag or no red flag?
You have to deter people from...
Yeah, absolutely.
Doing it. It's like, oh shit, I don't even want to think about hitting my car into someone else like that kind of thing.
No, not at all. And yeah, red flag or no red flag for you at the end of the race?
I think you explained it well because it was the end of the race, and I was just quickly reading. Apparently, when they're driving to virtual safety car, it's practically like driving around at red flag speeds anyway.
Okay, yeah.
I think because it was the last lap of the race, it's the last of one or 2 laps. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning. I can't remember, but yeah, I think that was the right decision because it would have we could have got what happened in last year. Do you remember there was the red flag and they did like the 1 lap and everyone just fucking went for it?
Yeah.
So they could have caused an even more dangerous issue. So it's like, look, we'll just finish the race, slow everyone down, inform all the teams, just watch out, and just get the race finished.
Yeah, I bet you at Alpine were pretty happy that there wasn't a repeat of last year because after the red flag restart, they crashed out both of their cars. So I bet they'll be.
And also, even for like Fernando, can you imagine if you had that 20-second type, you'd have just been at the back of the grid?
Yeah, insane, absolutely insane. So I think they ended it a lot better. But so
got to give credit where credit's due.
Do we have anything else around the Australian Grand Prix?
Around the Australian Grand Prix, no, it's just nice. Just nice to be back there.
Yeah, absolutely. I will. Did you watch the post-race interview with Hulkenberg and?
No, I didn't. You said it something. I did watch a Notebook though.
The Notebook.
Ted's Notebook.
Oh, okay. I thought
not the Ryan Gosling film.
I was like, okay, yeah, you do you, but yeah, cool. Yeah. Okay, nice. Anything good from Ted's Notebook?
It was his birthday, so you got.
Happy birthday, Ted! If you're listening, he isn't, but tweet it out. Let's tweet it.
Put a little bit of cake on him. So
lovely.
No, but there's nothing really. It's just
fair enough.
Ted's Notebook being Ted's
Notebook. In that case, then we will just wrap this episode up. I think that's good. We've been chatting now for 45 minutes. I am very quickly though going to plug 2 things. If you didn't listen to last week's episode, or I guess pre-weekend episode, we teased some guests, and we actually just finished a recording with one of our guests, didn't we? We
Yeah,
had
it's a really
a
interesting conversation.
really genuinely interesting conversation with a guy called Charlie Gates, who is a employee or an intern, I guess, at Alpine. So we had a chat with him for about an hour about all things Alpine and Formula One and racing and what he does and how he got into the sport and stuff. So that episode will be coming out probably Thursday this week. So that would be, hold on, as of recording, that would probably be the 4th of April. 4th of April, the 28th of March. Sorry, I'm looking at completely the wrong week.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah, no, the 28th of April is probably when that's going to come out, so that, you know, everyone has a nice little Easter surprise, an Easter podcast to listen to over that weekend. And of course, we have, I'm really sorry, Charlie, if you do listen to this, but we have a much bigger guest coming. We are recording on the 30th with the one, the only Anita Driver, who is the author of, it was way too far out of reach, Overtake My Heart, which is, of course, our favourite book of the year. And book
the
2.
The
pole sitter always rings. So we have the amazing Anita Driver joining us on Saturday. So we will record and get that out to you. I don't really know when we're going to record, when we're going to get that out to you, but it will be in the next couple of weeks, and I am very, very excited to listen to that and to bring that to everyone that we have listening to our podcast. Our little podcast has got an author on who's sold books worldwide, which is outrageous.
New York. Was it New York bestseller? New York Times,
New York Times bestseller. I don't quite think that's happened.
I swear every book is a New York Times bestseller.
I reckon that we could get because apparently what you do is you just buy like 30,000 copies like during your opening week, and you just bump. It's just like one of those things that just if you release the book during the right time, if it's the best-selling book that week, you can chuck that sticker on. It's something that a lot of authors do apparently. So
surprise.
Completely un Formula One related. So yeah, but that is it for this week. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We will be back for some lovely interviews over the next couple of weeks, I guess. And I don't know if I will be around for the Japanese Grand Prix. So I'll be watching it, I think. But you might have to put up with Terry for a week, or Ash on his own, or I don't really know. So we're going to sort it out. But I might not be able to record Sunday evening that day because I've got something going on. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But yes, thank you everyone for listening to this episode, and we will see you in the next one.
See ya. Peace out.
Cheers, everyone.